Ben 10 began as a teenager, traveling with his grandpa and his cousin on a family trip, where he finds the Omnitrix, a device that allows him to transform into aliens with superpowers, helping him fight villains during their journey. This leads Ben to the Time War, which changed our concept of temporal dimensions, revealing that Ben isn't the only one with an Omnitrix, and not every version with one is good. So, come with me as we explore each timeline and its unique story that makes it different from the others. Ben Prime's Dimension. This is the main dimension in Ben 10, and it might seem mundane to you. It's where Ben got the Omnitrix and began his heroic journey to become a good person in the end. But this is just the surface, because what happened is much bigger than that. This dimension has been destroyed, rebuilt, and altered dozens of times, making it a completely different dimension from how it started. Prime Timeline 1. Ben was an ordinary boy on a family trip with Grandpa Max and his cousin Gwen. We don't know who would have gotten the Omnitrix then. Maybe Max would have become Max 10, or Ben would have become Ben 10. After that, Vilgax destroys all timelines, leaving only one version of Ben who goes back in time with Professor Paradox to change the course of the Omnitrix so that Ben gets it, creating Prime Timeline 2. Prime Timeline 2. This is the dimension of the classic Ben 10. He grows up to become Ben 10,000, a narcissistic, antisocial, and reclusive character, which forces Gwen to travel through time from the past to bring the 10-year-old version of Ben. This allows Ben 10,000 to compare himself to his past and correct his mistakes. Prime Timeline 3. Gwen's intervention leads to the creation of the third Prime Timeline, where Ben will grow up to be a better person and have a son named Ken. This timeline continues until the end of Ben 10 Classic, leading into Alien Force, where he faces a creature that can make anything it touches age, leading to the destruction of Earth. Prime Timeline 4. However, Professor Paradox intervenes to stop that creature, and he succeeds, leading to the formation of the fourth Prime Timeline. This dimension continues until the Incurseians destroy a dam, causing everything to be flooded. Prime Timeline 5. But Ben transforms into Alien X and goes back in time to prevent this from happening, which leads to the creation of a timeline where the dam didn't explode, which is the fifth Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 6. After that, Gwen goes back in time to prevent Kevin from mutating into a monster by stopping him from hacking the Omnitrix, leading to the creation of the sixth Prime Timeline. In the future of this dimension, Hex and Charmcaster take over Earth because Kevin didn't get the powers that would stop them. So, he and Ben fail to prevent them from taking over the world. Prime Timeline 7. So Gwen goes back to the past once again to prevent herself from stopping Kevin from hacking the Omnitrix, and she succeeds. This leads to the seventh Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 8. This dimension continues until Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, where Ben meets Ultimate Ben 10,000 and finds that he is different from the Ben 10,000 he saw before. That's because every time Ben meets a future version, his future changes, leading to the eighth Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 9. We arrive at Ben 10 Omniverse, where Eon faces Ben in two different timelines, at the age of 10 and at the age of 16, and swaps their consciousnesses, leading to the ninth Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 8, Return. However, both versions of Ben transform into clockwork and reverse what happened, returning us again to the eighth Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 10. Here, Ken 10 gets a device in the future that allows him to return to the past to help his father. His first mission is to defeat one of Zombozo's followers for Ben, which leads to the creation of the 10th Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 11. After that, we see the future Doctor, Animo, traveling to help his past self, but Ken 10 returns to defeat him, making this the 11th Prime Timeline. Finally, we arrive at the most important event, the Time War, where Vilgax, with the help of Eon, travels across dimensions to gather evil versions of Ben to face and defeat Ben. Since we don't know the changes Vilgax made, we will consider this the 12th Prime Timeline. A fierce battle ensues in which Vilgax destroys the dimensions, leaving us with a version of Ben without a watch who finds the Omnitrix from the Prime Ben before his death. This version of Ben then travels with Paradox to change the path of the Omnitrix, which in the past led to the creation of Prime Timeline 2. After that, Maltruant gathers his parts from the past, leading to the creation of the 13th Prime Timeline. Prime Timeline 13. Maltruant's assistants steal a time egg with the help of Eon, but Ben tries to stop them. Things don't go as planned, leading to the arrival of Paradox with Ben 10,000, and he goes back in time once again, creating the 14th Prime Timeline. In that dimension, Paradox and Ben 10,000 help Ben stop Maltruant's followers. Ben transforms into Gravitac to stop them, but he ends up creating a black hole that consumes everything, leading to the creation of the 15th Prime Timeline. Here, Ben and Rook stop the theft of the egg, and Paradox returns them to their original dimension, creating the 16th Prime Timeline. This is the last timeline in Ben Prime. Ben 23's dimension. Welcome to Dimension 23, which leans towards the color blue. The Omnitrix also leans towards blue, as do the aliens, and they have strange names. For example, Ghost Freak is called Boo, Four Arms is called Handyman, and even Heat Blast is called Charcoal Man. In this timeline, the story is different. Ben 23 found the Omnitrix at the age of 10, and at that time, Grandpa Max died. So Ben 23 did what any teenager who gets superpowers would do: seek fame and money. In this dimension, Ben 23 didn't face many villains. His main enemies were the Intellectuary. It turns out that they are Azimuth and his assistants who want to retrieve the Omnitrix from Ben 23, because they don't see him as worthy of wielding it. But in the end, Ben 23 learned his lesson and understood that the Hero Watch is not for fame and money, but for saving people. Mad Ben's dimension. Let's move to a more evil dimension, the dimension of Mad Ben. He is the evil version of Ben in another timeline where Bellwood has become a desert after Mad Ben took control of it. In this dimension, there is no Grandpa Max, Gwen, or even Kevin. He resembles Ben but leans towards the color orange. He wears clothes similar to ancient warriors, with many spikes on his shoulder or arm. He is a bloodthirsty villain obsessed with power, hence his name, Mad Ben. He has a watch called the Power Watch, and his aliens have spikes just like Mad Ben himself. Mad Ben was raised by Maltruant, and consequently, he is loyal to Vilgax. Mad Ben is an arrogant, evil follower of Maltruant who seeks to satisfy his own ego. Niga Ben's dimension. In one of the most miserable and sad dimensions of all, Ben loses Grandpa Max, Gwen, and even Kevin in the hybrid invasion. But he manages to defeat them in the end, leaving him with only Julie, the only person left for him in this life. But life is always cruel. Ben loses Julie after that as well during his fight with Dagon and his followers. But luck is on Ben's side this time too, as he defeats Dagon in the end. However, Ben gives up on being a hero because heroism only meant losing the people close to him, and he has no one left in the end. So when Maltruant came to his timeline, Ben surrendered to him, wishing for him to finish him off. But he imprisons him and makes him a test subject for himself and Dr. Psychobos. Due to the torture, Ben becomes an evil follower of Maltruant and calls himself Niga Ben. Bad Ben's dimension. In this timeline, everything is reversed, good and evil. The Tennyson family were just a few criminals in Bellwood, spreading corruption, stealing, and even killing. When Ben got the Omnitrix, it was his golden opportunity to become power mad. He started spreading terror and corruption in his timeline, even killing many innocent people. Therefore, Maltruant had no trouble convincing him to join him. He even became convinced by Maltruant's ideas and became his follower easily. Eon's Dimension. In this timeline, Ben lost the Time War against Maltruant, who destroyed the Omnitrix and trapped Ben between dimensions. Ben went insane there due to his imprisonment, but used the remains of the Omnitrix to create a device that allows him to travel between dimensions. There, he meets Professor Paradox, who becomes his nemesis, Benzaro's Dimension. In this timeline, Animo creates a virus that turns all humans into half-zombies, even Ben, who ended up looking like this. Even his aliens appear as half-zombies. However, Gwen did not transform. Instead, she continued to work on a cure for this virus to return Ben and all humans to their normal form. Because this virus damaged half of Ben's brain, it made him easily convinced by Vilgax and Eon's evil plans. No Watch Ben's Dimension. In this timeline, the Omnitrix never reached Earth because the Sword of Ascalon, created by Asmuth, was never stolen. Therefore, Asmuth never went to Earth and didn't know about it, so he never created an Omnitrix in the first place in this timeline. Ben also never met Vilgax in this dimension. Instead, he lived a completely normal life as a human, playing soccer. However, he always felt that his life was missing some excitement and described it as boring. Gwen 10's Dimension. In this timeline, the Tennysons went camping as planned, and the Omnitrix fell, but instead of Ben getting it, Gwen did. She was then able to transform into Ben's aliens and became the hero of this dimension, which is called the Gwen 10 dimension. In the end, Gwen grows up to become Gwen 10,000 and marries Kevin, Ben 10,000's dimension. This isn't a dimension in itself, but a future for Ben that changes every time Ben meets himself in the past or the future. The first version of Ben 10,000 was narcissistic and reclusive, not wanting to meet anyone, and he rarely returned to his human form. However, when he met his 10-year-old self, his future changed, and he became more vibrant. He even married Kai and had Ken. But when he met his 10-year-old self again, he changed and became Ultimate Ben 10,000, who could transform into aliens from his human form and even into Ultimate Aliens. He then meets his 16-year-old self and changes to become Omniverse Ben 10,000, who managed to create another version of the Omnitrix called the Biomnitrix, which allows him to transform into fused aliens. He then meets his 16-year-old self, and his future changes again. But we don't know what he will become this time, as it hasn't been shown yet. Those were all the timelines in the Ben 10 cartoon. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for many more epic videos soon.